Hello CS400 and welcome to my Java tutorial on enums. So as you can see, I have an enum created right here. If I wanted to, I could have made it outside of this class, test enum, but I decided to make kind of an inner class with it. If you want to try out how to make it outside of it, then you can do that on your own. It's pretty similar. It's just like if I took a regular class and then extended enum. And that's what makes enums a little bit more special than regular classes. So by creating an enum and using this keyword enum right here instead of class, we're essentially creating a class except with only constants declared. So enums are inherently static and constant. And if you recall, Java naming conventions request that we make all constants capitalized, which is why all of these constants in here are capitalized. So now that we have our enum and all of our constants in it, you may be wondering why we don't just create an inner class with constants declared instead. That would be kind of a simple, easy way of doing it. But for one, this way of doing it, creating an enum, is a lot more organized. And more importantly than that, enums extend the Java lang enum class, which has very wonderful, helpful methods for keeping our constants organized, and also putting them in a switch statement becomes a lot easier, which I can show you later. But for now, we're going to focus on, like I said, these wonderful methods that the enum class gives us. And we can see them in these Java docs right here. I'll be focusing on the methods ordinal, toString, and then also values. So values is basically using value of so that it can create an array of all the different values, which I will demonstrate in a minute if that doesn't quite make sense. But if you want to read more about these methods, then I definitely recommend you check out these Java docs for all the enum methods. So the first method we're going to focus on is the ordinal method. So enums are set up so each constant is assigned an index based on the order in which they're declared. So it's basically like I had created an array here with Antarctica at 0, South America at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and finally Australia at index 6. So if I created two continent objects, one will be Asia, and the other I will make Europe. And I wanted to see which one came before the other. Then I can use the ordinal method. So I'll just take my first object, which is Asia, and I'll see if it's true that the ordinal of Asia is less than the ordinal of Europe. And then I'll just quick print out my answer. Okay, so C1's ordinal, that would be Asia, should be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then Europe should be the one right before that at 3. So it should not be true that 4 is less than 3. And if we run this, then we see that we get the answer of false. So that's pretty much all there is to ordinal. And now I kind of want to show you a couple of the other methods. So again, if you want to read more on that, then I would recommend just going to the Java docs. So normally when I create an object from a class and I try to print it out using system.out.print, then I basically just get a bunch of gibberish. So if I created a second class here called continent class, and it's just a regular class, as you can see, and I created a static final, which is basically what Asia is in here, but I made it for this class instead. And if I try to print that out, do continent class.asia, then when I run this, I get this right here. Notice if I do the same thing for my enum class, when I run this, I actually get the word Asia. So I'll let you kind of brainstorm why that is on your own, but I'll give you a huge hint. Enum actually overrides the regular two-string method that system.out.print uses. And if you want to see more on that, then again, you should check the Java docs out. Now it's time for us to talk about our most important method that we'll be learning about in this tutorial, and that is the values method. It's something that actually isn't really described in the Java docs because basically it's just magically given to us by the compiler, but it is in the description of the value of method here, and it says all the constants of an enum type can be obtained by calling the implicit values method of that type. So basically what values does is it gives us back an array of all the constants in the order in which they were declared. So it's basically like how Ordinal gives us all those different indices. Well, it's based on the ordinal of all of our constants. So all we have to do in order to create an array for an enum is specify the array's type continent, name it something, and then do continent dot values. And boom, we have an array list. And we can use that just like we would any other array, not array list, an array, sorry. We could use that how we want to any other array. Dot length, and then we can see, really just messing up left and right here, but bear with me. And then we can see that when we print out the individual indices in cont, it prints it out in the order in which we declared them. So Antarctica, South America, all the way down to Australia. And like I said, this works inherently well with switch statements, and that is because our different constants can be used as the different cases. So in this example, I am taking the third element in cont, so that would mean Europe, and I'm passing that into my switch statement. And of course, it is the case of Europe, but if you recall, switch statements will actually keep on going down until they reach a breaking point. And since I didn't put break in this case, then that means it's going to go all the way down until it hits points plus equals 5 and breaks. So when I printed out at the bottom the number of points I have, since we started here and just went down to here, then that means that I should have 5 points. And I'm going to get rid of this, it's a little distracting. So that's really helpful and all. If we wanted to maybe switch it up though and not have it in this strict order, then we can of course use a good old array list. There's a couple ways that you can kind of initialize these values. I'm going to do it manually one by one. You can see that I created my array list of type continent, and then I only added South America, North America, Antarctica, Asia, and Europe. And if I wanted to use this in a bit of a fancier switch statement, I cleared my point value, and now for every single continent inside my array list, so it's just these 5 right here, then I am going to put them through the switch statement. And so my first one that's added is of course South America, so that means that'll be the first one that goes in. And then since that's the first one that goes in, it's going to go down here, it's going to reach the 2 point, and then it's going to break. So that means points is at 2, and then it's going to go to North America, it's going to go here, and then go down here, so then we're at 7, and then Antarctica does not have a value, or a case, so it goes down to the default, which puts us at 8, Then Asia breaks right away, but adds on the +7 to get us to 15. And then Europe, of course, goes here, here, and then breaks finally here after it adds the +5, which gives us 20 in this case. So if you had a lot of constants, you can see where this would be really helpful for keeping track of how many cases of that constants that you have in an array list or an array. In general, enums are just really helpful to use for constants, and if you want to learn more about it, then again, I would recommend checking out the Java docs just quickly, and also maybe messing around with it yourself. Or if you have more questions, then feel free to contact me. If you have questions on your program, then of course stop into either Katie or Andy's office hours, or we can set up a Skype call.